session. Zoni?
Councilmember Coburn?
Yes.
Councilman Register?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Tedmer?
Yes, ma'am.
And Councilman Casto is excused.
Okay. Today's invocation is by Vice Mayor Michael Jarman.
Heavenly Father, we ask for your presence here today. Protect those that live in Panama City Beach and visit this wonderful city of ours. Guide all to follow the path of Christ, and may we all be blessed with the graces of God. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next up, community announcements. On Thursday, June 13th, 7 p.m. at Aaron Besant Park is the Summer Concert Series. That's tonight. June 12th through 16th at Frank Brown is the USASSA Global Baseball World Series Tournaments. Wednesday, June 12th, 4 p.m., the City Park Board Meeting at City Hall. June 17th to 23rd, the Grand Slam World Series 1 baseball tournaments at Frank Brown Park. Wednesday, June 19th is the city offices will be closed for the Juneteenth holiday. Thursday, June 20th at 7 p.m. is the Summer Concert Series again at Aaron Besant Park. And then Thursday, June 27th at 9 a.m. is our next city council meeting. Okay, before we begin, we've been a little loose with the rules here, so I'm going to tighten them up. Our rules say to be able to speak, the members should address the chairperson to be recognized. Also, members are not to be interrupted unless they need to be called to order. So next is the approval of the meeting minutes. Ms. Fazzone?
Need a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Councilmember Coburn?
Yes.
Councilman Councilman Register?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mayor Tedmer?
Yes, ma'am. Next is the approval of the agenda and any additions or deletions. I would like to add a brief memorial for Richard Jackson, who passed. Anything else from the council?
No, I think it's great.
So moved.
Okay. Second.
Second.
Councilmember Coburn?
Yes.
Councilman Register?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Tedmer?
Yes, ma'am. Richard Jackson became the first city manager of Panama City Beach in 1979. At that time, the city's population was 3,000. Back Beach Road was 2 lanes, and the city had 52 employees, a $2 million budget. The tallest building on the beach was 4 stories high. He served the role of city manager for 33 years until his retirement in 2012. During that time, alongside friend and mayor Philip Griffiths, he witnessed the population of the beach quadruple, the city staff grow to 250 employees, the budget grow to $160 million, Back Beach expanded to 4 lanes, and high-rise condominiums spring up along the coast. He passed away yesterday, June 12th, 2024, at age 77. Our thoughts are with his wife, Trish, and the rest of his family during this difficult time. Please stand with me for a moment of silence. Thank you. Next is our presentations. North Alf Coleman Road Sidewalk Project Update.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Just wanted to give you an update on this sidewalk project and give you kind of a brief history of the course we took to actually get to this point. So This project actually extends from Back Beach Road to Dr. Haley Drive, and it was completed in May of this year. But this project spans a lot longer. We started a project through the Safe Routes to School in partnership with Arnold High School. In 2017, we applied for a grant, and in 2019, we applied again because DOT did not have funding available. So DOT reached out to us and said, we like your project, we just can't fund it all. We do have an immediate safety need from Back Beach Road to Middle Beach Road, and we're gonna donate some, or give you some funding for that project, which is turned into the Al Coleman Road project for lighting and sidewalk. They're paying for that portion of it. So we did realize during that process, through the grant process, that we have more than 80 students within a half-a-mile radius of the high school. We had already started a partnership with the high school. They were like, please, could you find some funding? Could you help us out? We have a lot of students that walk on the east side where there's no sidewalk. They walk in the grass. It's not really safe for them. So in October of '22, the city council requested staff to do a cost estimate and see if there was possible funding. Could we complete the portion from Back Beach Road north to Dr. Haley to the high school to give them a safe access to the high school? So design was started. We did find the funding. Design was completed in September of '22, and then construction was completed May 13th of 2024. As you can see, it's probably a little more than half a mile, 6-foot wide concrete sidewalk. We had to do make sure that compliance was with the drainage permit, ADA requirements, cross slopes, curb ramps, detectable warnings, handrails, and then we had some drainage issues that we had to look at with the sidewalk. So the crosswalks were part of this project, but were actually installed by city staff. And it was a great addition to actually install. The RRFB stands for Rapid Rectangular Flashing Beacon. So they can actually push a button, it lights up, and they can cross the street safely. I was really proud of our guys that actually were able to install that and do the thermoplast striping. They did a great job. So the end product pretty much looks like this, which I think is a great addition to the city, and it helps our kids get to school safely. Great project.
Thank you. Vice Mayor, I believe you had something to do?
Oh, yeah, this was, something I really wanted to see happen. I can't thank staff enough. Kathy has put in a ton of work on this. The amount of staff that contributed to making this possible. I saw it as a huge need for the students at Arnold High School. Well, there's only one from the past council here tonight, but I want to thank Councilmember Coburn for supporting this as well. It turned out to be a great project. It's fantastic and much safer for those students that are walking. They don't have to walk in the dirt or find themselves in the road trying to get home. So, I mean, I can't thank you enough. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Meltz. Okay. Next up is the consent agenda. Ms. Fazzoni, please read the consent.
Sir, we need to do public comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm totally sorry. Next up is public comments. Thank you, Mr. Davis. This comment period is for consent agenda or non-agenda business. If you have a comment on an agenda item, you must wait until I call for public comment at that time. When you come up, just please state your name clearly. We need them for the minutes. Please address the chairman, me, or the council as a whole, not individual members. And this is important. Just please keep your comment confined to city business. This is a business meeting. We're doing the work of the people. We're working together and need your help. So, any public comment? Please come up.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. My name is Cliff Gornto. I'm a lifelong Emerald Coast resident. I reside at 206 West Lakeshore Drive. I stand before you today with a plea for understanding and action regarding a significant obstacle in the completion of my family's full-time residence held up by connection to the city's sewer system. It's imperative I highlight some intricate challenges and homeowners like me face in this process. Let me start with a little background. Firstly, we paid our sewer tap fees in September of 2023 over $6,000, a considerable investment made over 9 months ago. Secondly, the city mandates individuals to contract for and finance outside engineering, installation, and documentation of the city's main sewer lines. Thirdly, the cost to install the city's sewer line on the street I live on, not including engineering and surveys, exceeded $60,000, borne by us. What's more, we received our certificate of occupancy on 21 May, signaling the completion of my family's home, yet we remain unable to move into that home. Additionally, I'd like to emphasize that the main sewer line and my line have successfully passed the required pressure test, and as-built drawings have been submitted to the city just this week. Today, homes on both sides of my property are connected to that sewer line. Additionally, I'd like to emphasize that the sewer has, furthermore, that both the state and local governments recognize environmental impact of septic systems, obligating $2 million to convert from septic to sewer. Thus, transitioning people off of systems, septic systems and onto sewer system is a justified priority. I urge your action and empathetic consideration of the plight faced by homeowners like myself. I respectfully remind the council that the platform to put locals first, which resulted in overwhelming support in the recent election, a testament to locals' frustration with being overlooked. This situation underscores the promise of the current tenure, prioritizing locals and recognizing that transitioning people onto the sewer and off septics is beneficial for the individual, but also imperative for the environment. Therefore, I implore the council to allow us to complete the connection to the line while waiting on the final approval, and then expedite the remaining city approvals. This process, as it stands, is cumbersome and burdensome for homeowners. We find ourselves in a labyrinth of local and state regulations and dependencies with little to no guidance and support from the city. I implore the city council to reconsider its approach to sewer system regulations and approvals, streamlining procedures, offering guidance to homeowners, and providing support to all citizens navigating these challenges are essential steps towards treating constituents as valued customers. A great way to show locals they're important. I appreciate your time and consideration.
Mr. Gordo, before
Yes.
you leave, could you give us your address so it'll
Yeah.
help us?
206 West Lakeshore Drive.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Scott Heilman, 137 Johnson Bayou Drive. Last week, I warned the council about the mayor's desire to expand his power at the expense of our freedoms. 20 minutes later, Gary Wayne Beck was discussing the skate park when the mayor ordered him removed for being disruptive. According to Florida's open forum laws, a disruption is defined as talking over or interrupting the speaker. Gary did neither. He was the speaker. The mayor will argue Gary spoke of irrelevant topics, but Gary was on point. He discussed Tony Hawk, the X Games. He was removed upon mentioning a sexual assault discussion from another meeting. If Gary were allowed to continue, he would have linked that to the unfortunate stories of sexual exploitations that occur at skate parks. Bringing up irrelevant points from other meetings like I'm doing here tonight is appropriate, not disruptive. Florida Sunshine Law states interrupting the speaker means preventing them from finishing their thoughts or making their points. The mayor did that, not Gary. The city charter states the mayor may not interrupt unless it is to call someone to order. The mayor never called Gary to order, nor did he give him a chance to explain his position. Why was Gary the only person warned before taking the podium? Why was the woman discussing lighthouses not instructed to leave the building? The Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment requires the government, that's you, to treat everyone equally. This includes enforcement of the rules during public meetings. The speed the mayor removed Gary from the podium, the failure to seek clarification from Gary, his failure to follow established procedures, his failure to enforce the rules consistently leads me to believe the mayor's actions were biased due to a personal dislike of Gary and not, as he claimed, to facilitate discussions. Gary was not removed because he was disruptive. He was removed because of the words he spoke. For that reason, I filed a complaint with the Attorney General's office to investigate this into First Amendment violations. These attacks by government on our personal liberties are what you swore an oath to protect and defend against. If you agree there's a chance Gary's right to free speech was violated, then you are obligated by your oath of office to report this potential constitutional breach. The last meeting, I asked this council to protect us from the abuses of government. Tonight, I'm asking you to do the same. To censor a council member in debate, the rules require a motion, a second, followed by discussion, then a majority vote to censor. I'm requesting the city manager to ask for somebody to second my motion to amend the charter. I'm now motioning that that the same free speech protections that the mayor enjoys be extended to us, we the people. Does anybody in this building believe free and equal speech for all is an unreasonable request? Gary, I don't agree with much of what you say, but as a freedom-loving American, I will support and defend your right to say it. Hopefully I'm not alone. That man deserves an apology. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Bernie Thompson. I agree with what the gentleman said. In these comments, the non-agenda comments, it's pretty freewheeling, and it should be. There are restrictions in case law. I know you remember Drew, we had a lawsuit in Cole.
Sir, please.
Yes, sir. You can restrict time, place, and manner. If Captain Beck or I go walking around or do what I just did, you can correct us. But if we make threats of violence, you can have us kicked out. And I've heard that before here. But going off topic, I think in these non-agenda comments is protected. All right, I want to switch gears. And I want to say I'm concerned about the Tourist Development Council. And I think that Councilman Register is on the board now, and as well as you, Mr. Jarman. The meeting minutes have not been posted for a long time, and since February. But what I'm most concerned about is I sent a public record request for the notice of the meeting. According to the law, these notices have to be reasonable. They have to be to all of the public so that the public can attend. Maybe posted on the TDC website.
Sir, this should be addressed to the TDC, not the City Council.
There are 2 TDC members here, Mayor, and I think you guys spent a whole bunch of time up here fighting about who was going to be on the TDC. I think this is certainly within the bounds, and I'm going to try to continue unless you have me thrown out. And I made a public record request. It turns out the notice for the TDC meetings are to a closed group of 106 people. There are no notices sent out to the general public. I believe this is a tremendous sunshine law violation. I've requested today the actual email to be forwarded to me. It must include the time and location of the
Sir,
of the
these
meeting.
should be addressed to the TDC. You're making complaints about the TDC. You should address it to the TDC.
I'm going to disagree with you, Mayor. These non-agenda items, this certainly has to do with city business.
Sir,
I'm finished talking, but that's what I have to say. Thank you.
My name is Captain Gary Wayne Beck. I live at 2601 Beach Street. I'm a United States Merchant Marine that put his hand on the Bible, swore to uphold the Constitution and Bill of Rights against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I represent the people. I am to protect the Constitution and Bill of Rights. I have witnessed time and again criminal acts that come directly against the people. We the people, carried out by a group of individuals that prey upon them, taking pictures over their privacy fences, taking pictures inside their bedroom windows, and then they come back and they steal their homes. 47 homes I have a record of them destroying. During the meantime, they ripped me of every constitutional right I had during the 2010 BP oil spill whenever they found out I had a dyslexia, and they slandered my name. Whenever I got my captain's license, my captain's license was signed by some of the most integral and honorable men in this county.
Sir, please keep this
I've
city.
been here since I was 10 years old. The Bill of Rights states that I have the right to speak, and the mere fact that I'm standing
Sir, this
here
is a business
having to
meeting
beg
for
you-
Panama City Beach business.
Yeah,
Please
okay.
keep it
Well,
to
I guess
Panama City
business in
Beach
Panama
minutes.
City Beach is, how come y'all guys can't get me in touch with the sheriff? Y'all can't get me in touch with the Panama City Beach Police to investigate any of the criminal acts that come directly against the Constitution and Bill of Rights? And let's don't forget, I don't enjoy saying what happened and what I witnessed, with a child. This child was like 8 years old, and it's nothing civil about that. And when somebody gets their house destroyed, there's nothing civil about that. During the meantime, I can't even get the sheriff to pick up the phone. I've got Clara back there, and I've got everybody give me the runaround. 14 years, the rest of the planet's been witnessing y'all give me the runaround while I'm putting hard evidence that can't be denied. Hard evidence, you know, like whenever they said that I was mentally disturbed and they ran it in the newspaper, they told me I was mentally disturbed.
Sir,
by being in a
please
place
keep,
where
the
I had
newspaper
to go
is not
through a
Panama City Beach
security
business.
background check just to be in the same room with the people. And the reason I'm saying that is it comes against the Constitution and Bill of Rights. We have the right to present evidence in our defense. We have a right to an attorney. If I'd have had an attorney rather than inbred kissing cousins, I would have been off.
Sir, please do not insult the council. Please sit down.
I'm not talking about you,
Okay.
but I'm talking about the people that's in the government system, you know, that I'm having to listen to.
Sir,
this man that calls
sir,
himself the devil.
sir.
This man calls himself the devil, and he's still talking about me. He knows more about y'all than I do. He knows more about me than I do. And you think, you know, somewhere along the lines, you know, they got the recorder sitting over there at the Panama City Beach, you know, the cassette recorder. I've got that with recordings with the judge telling me, you know, where they forged my name, and he wouldn't listen to it. But, you know, can you show me any of the evidence that the police department, Panama City Beach or Bay County or whatever has done?
Sir, thank you. Further public comment?
Hi, good evening. My name's Matt Gunner. I live at 106 Grand Falls Lane, and I actually just wanted to, first off, second the sidewalk project from earlier. I live right across the street from there, and it was well done, and I use it all the time, so appreciate it. I just had a couple of questions and comments. I was looking at the current city budget from that was passed last year, and had a couple of, I guess, questions and comments on that as it pertained to maybe looking forward. It's kind of a weird environment right now nationally, I guess, with maybe recession, not recession. Where are we headed? When I'm looking at the finances going forward, I was just curious if there's any look at revenue projections and stuff like that. It makes sense to project increased revenues going forward in good times, but I'm just wondering if there's any consideration to what happens in bad times, right? When there's a recession, when there's, you know, massive unemployment, when maybe business tax revenues slow down, and so what do we do in that situation when you know, the expenses are greater than the revenues? Do we dip into the reserves, trim expenses, that kind of thing? And I was looking at I think there's a 25% reserve. I don't know if it's a requirement or if it's just a goal that we have here. And I didn't know if that was if we have a deficit, can we dip into that if need be, or is that an emergency fund only? I didn't know what the rationale was behind 25%. I've seen various estimates about what the correct, quote, correct reserve is, and so I didn't know if there was any rationale behind the 25% versus like another, you know, mark there. And then I guess the last comment was I noticed that we added, I think, 20, it was, I believe, 23, correct me if I'm wrong, I could be employees, I think, from last year to this year into the current budget. And I didn't know if there was any consideration to, maybe there was in the past, about looking at, you know, contracting or possible contractors or anything like that, like alternatives to maybe adding workers and stuff like that, just as like a cost benefit type thing. And maybe there's some instances where that makes sense, maybe there's others where it doesn't, depending on the department, depending on the work involved. But I just wanted to throw those couple of things out there and appreciate your time and you guys' service. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
What was your name again?
Matt Gunner,
All right,
106
thanks.
Grand Falls. Thank you.
I'm Peter Fischetti, refugee from Southern California. Hope you don't hold that against me tonight. I'm going to talk a little bit about Front Beach Road in the future. And in doing so, I need to remind everyone about the mobility and parking survey that the CRA developed and put out almost a year ago. The results are very clear, and I'm sure the CRA may have been, or some people may have been really disappointed by them. Nobody wants buses. The residents don't want them, and the tourists don't want them. Both were surveyed. the only way that any of the people surveyed were going to use the bus was if they didn't have to wait more than 5 minutes to catch one. So that's, 16, 14, 12, whatever. 12 buses an hour would have to be running through Front Beach Road in order to attract any riders. So I don't know what the solution to this is as far as cutting down on traffic, but I do know that the buses are not a good idea, and that I'm hoping that the city council, maybe through public hearings, can come up with a better idea that would cut down a little bit on the congestion, save some of the parking, and make life a little bit nicer for the people who live here and for those who visit here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Further public comment? That's it? Okay. City Manager, would you please address the public comments?
Yes, sir. First on Cliff at 206 West Lake Shore. We'll look into that, and I'll have our Utilities Department Director reach out to them to see what the status is on that and see how we can move that forward or what the holdup is on that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Second speaker was strictly a statement towards council, so I won't reply to that one. Number 3 was basically a statement to the council. The first part, the second part was the TDC. I don't have any control over TDC, so I'd recommend that Mr. Thompson reaches out to them. Speaker number 4, Mr. Beck. The only comment I saw was a question on there, and I want to stand up for the police department there. After the last meeting, they did take him over to try to get another report from him. He refused to take a report at that time because they were trying to get some more information from him. Our Panama City Beach Police Department is doing everything they can do to help him within our side of our city limits as far as everything else is in the county. Speaker number 5, Matt, I agree with him. The sidewalk was well overdue, so thank you for that with the council. The budget, we take that serious. We're in the budget season right now. We do a 5-year plan to see what's coming in, what's going out. Holly was our chief financial officer for years before she became the assistant. And we have a great financial staff, so in the near future, we'll be sitting down with one-on-one with the councils. We do try to keep a 25% buffer for our budget, not our budget, for our reserves. That was said, I believe, by a resolution. I don't know the resolution off the top of my head. I can research that if they need the resolution number on that.
It's the financial, this is city financial policies manual?
Yeah, we did that in what, 2018, 2021?
I think 2020.
Yep.
As far as the 23 employees, we look at that every year to make sure we can do it. We didn't hire all those employees yet. Some are still on standby until they hit the criteria before we can hire them. The council said like 2 of the employees are still tied to the 700 acres. At the Conservation Park, we won't hire them until we get the land, but we keep that in mindset. We do a third-party contractor with some of our service. Some it's useful to go outside, other it's beneficial to keep it inside, but we do third-party contractors when needed and when it's feasible and saves the city money. And I believe that answers all of his questions on that. And then Peter's comments were basically about the CRA and the direction would come from the dais in the future, what we do with that third lane. That would be my call. I believe that sums up all the questions.
Thank you, City Manager.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, may I?
Yes.
Yeah. Mr. Gunner, one thing that wasn't discussed, and this is important to help answer your question, is this city operates on a financial budget that's a lot different than practically any other city in this, any other city. Since we do not have a property tax, so we are as much of a business as a city can be, as a municipality can be. So I know myself and everybody else up here looks at our financial trending very closely. And each month, each quarter, we look at it. We look for, whether we're down, like I think right now we're not too far down, but it's trending down. We're going to see how the summer goes and go from there. But so to answer that question, yes, we are hyper aware of whether the revenue stream is going up or down, and then we would make, I'm sure, as a council, appropriate decisions to react to that.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Any other comments from the council?
Just to Cliff, thank you so much for bringing that to our attention, and we will get better. I I know this council, I know who's sitting next to me, and we'll get better, and we'll expedite that process. And
Yeah.
I appreciate you bringing that to our attention, and it's great. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, council. Next up is the consent agenda, finally. Ms. Vizzoni.
Resolution 24-136, a resolution of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, approving an agreement with the Florida Department of Management Services for Local Government Cybersecurity Grant Program. Resolution 24-137, a resolution of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, approving the purchase of portable radios from Williams Communications, Inc., in the total amount of $37,279, and agreeing to be bound by the terms and conditions of the Sourcewell contract governing that purchase. Resolution 24-138, a resolution of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, approving change order number 1 to the city's agreement with Gulf Coast Utilities Contractors, LLC, for the Alf Coleman Road project to add $29,742.50. Resolution 24-139, a resolution of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, approving agreements with AT&T Enterprises, LLC, doing business as AT&T Enterprises Florida, LLC, and T-Mobile USA, Inc., for cellular services for city facilities, devices, and equipment, an initial estimated annual amount of $270,100.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve, and I'd just like to say on item 1, there's no cost to the city on that grant. So it's a fully funded grant, and thank you, Chief, for making that happen. So motion to approve these.
Second.
Ms. Vizzoni, please call roll.
Councilmember Coburn?
Yes.
Councilman Register?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Teddemer?
Yes, ma'am. And Councilmember Coburn, just please ask for the floor to add comment.
I'm sorry?
Please ask for the floor to add comment.
Sorry, I don't understand.
Okay. Next up is the regular item number 1, draft ordinance 1647.
And
Mr. Davis?
Sure. I won't read the title just because this is a discussion item. I'll introduce it for you. A few meetings ago, you directed me to work on an ordinance that would govern what happens when a second large event wants to come into town on the same day as a previously permitted first event. So I've prepared this ordinance that governs exactly that. And essentially what it does is makes a second large event a conditional use, which borrows a system that we already have in place for other land uses in our land development code. So essentially, if there is a large event that is permitted in the city, the second large event seeks a permit on the same day as that first large event, they would have to come before the council, and the council would be able to consider approval, disapproval, or to place conditions on that based on the criteria set forth in the ordinance. I can answer any questions that you have. I do also want to disclose that as a private attorney, I also represent the organizers of Gulf Coast Jam in a limited capacity. I don't do anything related to the city or its permitting process or any of that. Before I took on that client, I checked with my law firm, the Florida Commission on Ethics, the Florida Bar, everybody under the sun to make sure that I was doing it correctly. And they all told me I did, and I make sure that I followed those rules very carefully. And again, I can answer any questions you have about the ordinance itself.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Davis. Can we have public comment before we do discussion? No? Open to the council for discussion of the ordinance? Or do you have any questions?
Well, this ordinance is about as clear as mud to me. And I'm going through and looking at it, and the more information I get, the more unclear it becomes. Because it seems like when we have medium events, we have a medium A and a medium B. But everything over 5,000 is considered a large event.
Yes, ma'am.
So are those not like large A and large B? Because there's like Gulf Coast Jam, which is a large event. And then what was the other one? Was it the Jazz Festival that's also considered a large one?
Yes, ma'am.
But not as large as Gulf Coast Jam. So it's hard to just say all large events. Are we going to just, do we need to break it down a little bit
Well, yeah,
by
that's
attendance?
That's what I was about to say, is maybe we need to discuss the definition of large events.
Correct.
Do we have an extra, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
An extra
Do
large?
we have an extra large event? I mean, do we go that route, or do we do a large A and large B? I mean, what do we do?
We do whatever you want.
I like the idea of it, I really do, and I understand the premise of it, and I like what you've done, Cole. So where do we go from here? Do we have a large A, large B? Does anybody have an idea?
Or maybe we just have an extra large and a large.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, please.
As you discuss additional definitions of events, in the context of this ordinance itself, this is all about the second event that comes in. And so I would be curious, as you discuss new classifications of events, how does that play into having multiple events? The direction you gave me originally was having multiple events on the same day related to when we had Thunder Beach and the Air Show on the same weekend. And so I followed the directions, I think. But this new discussion, I just want to make that in the context of the ordinance, which is intended to address multiple events on the same day.
Yeah, so
I was just going to say, in that case, then maybe 5,000 is fine, because we're dealing with maybe an event that we know is 10, 20, 30,000. Any event that comes in during that time or wants to come in at that time, at 5,000 probably is a good kick start to kick it into that category so we can take a look at it. In regards to the ordinance, it does give this council wide berth to look at that second event. So it's, I think it will accommodate what we were looking for.
yeah, I will say a couple things about this specifically for the second large event. One, it appears in 3 that for the traffic control police.
3D?
Yeah, 3D, that it would allow that second event to have additional traffic control so that in front of El Centro, for example, we were a little tight on that because we just didn't have the staffing to, keep that, and we had to let people come all the way down to like West Pier Park. So there were some issues there. We could have done some better routing if we had required more staff there, and also exiting Pier Park. A couple of things I noticed that we may want to consider. Extra large events in general can impact cell service. And I would ask, and I actually experienced that when I was leaving the air show on Saturday. There was some cell service issues. I know other events have brought in additional cell towers. So would it be possible under this ordinance, Mr. Davis, to require additional cell towers if necessary?
Yes, sir. I think you could place that condition within those factors.
Okay.
As long as you could tie the impact of the event itself to the safety concerns of obviously lack of communications of safety concern, and so you could, as long as you can tie those two together, right? If we don't have evidence that cell service will be impacted by that number of people, that would potentially be a problem because your decision has to be objective on First Amendment grounds. Absolutely. So with that caveat, yes.
Okay. Another question I had, if 2 events applied but have not been approved, which triggers this section?
As written, the first to get permitted.
Okay.
So the early bird gets the worm.
So if 2 of the applications are in process, there are several steps for the public. There are several steps we go through for permitting these events. They're not just single write-off. They go to several different departments to make sure that they cover parking, safety. And that can take some time, and there's a lot of involvement with the promoter of the event. And so the question was, if we have 2 of those going in, when does it trigger this section? And it'll be whoever gets there first is considered the first large event, fully permitted, and then that just encourages them to speed up. Another question I had, how do we notice or schedule the meeting in front of City Council?
So we would follow the quasi-judicial procedures that are in your land development code, and on the next reading, I'll probably add a reference to those procedures, so that way it's clear how we set up that hearing, how that hearing will be conducted, how it will be noticed, all those things. But Chapter 10 of the Land Development Code deals with exactly this procedure that we are adopting. So it'll be clear in the next round, the procedure part.
Okay. The final question, I know I'm taking some time here. Does the applicant, as written, does the applicant have the right to appeal the city council's decision?
As written, no, and that's another thing that I need to fix in the next draft, is to now, generally speaking, a special event that is denied by special events right now are all considered by the city manager. They're not considered by the city council unless there is an appeal of a denial. In that case, then you serve as the appellate body. In this case, if you deny an event or you place conditions on that event that the event holder doesn't want to comply with, I'll add language in that they need to go to the circuit court, and the circuit court can act in their appellate capacity. And so we'll add language into the next round to grant them, assuming that that's what you would like us to do.
And will we be able to specifically protect the area of Pier Park so that we can make sure that it doesn't get overwhelmed with traffic and parking?
And that's exactly what you are empowered to do by this ordinance. So you can look at it, and it's based on the factors of both events in the totality. You don't look at them in silos, you look at them together as a community. So if you have a large event, let's say in Aaron Besant Park, and then you have a large event, let's say on the east end of the beach, you would consider those, your consideration of that event will be different than a large event in Aaron Besant Park and a large event in Frank Brown Park, right? Then the impacts are different, and so you would be able to place different conditions on that second event or deny that second event because of the total impact to that geographic area. So the answer to your question is yes.
Okay. Yeah, we just need to make sure that we don't totally take for granted all the parking at Pier Park. I understand some of the businesses lost substantial amount of money during the Gulf Coast Jam because people that were shopping couldn't get to them. And of course, the concert goers weren't buying clothes. So we just want to make sure we protect the businesses and their right to do business as well.
Okay.
Do you have enough from us now? Sorry.
Yeah, I think so.
What are you looking for us as far as direction? Because I really like what the mayor's brought up as far as the cell service towers. I think that's definitely, I know at Gulf Coast Jam I attended, they had those. It was a lot nicer to be able to communicate this year as in years past, be able to find family, friends, communicate, be able to link up. So I like that a lot. What are you looking for from us as far as direction?
I mean, right now, I think it's just any additional changes or language that you want to see beyond what's already written. The mayor's provided some suggestions that I think are good, and I can incorporate those. And basically, as long as I get head nods that everyone agrees, then we'll prepare this for first reading, because you'll see this two more times.
I personally think the mayor's suggestions are spot on. I mean, definitely.
Okay, so, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah. To summarize, that was making sure we have the ability to add cell service towers, and also add the appeals process.
And the hearing process.
And the hearing process.
Do you want to do anything about a definition of extra-large events, or would you like to move that to another day?
If the council wants to add a discussion later on about extra-large events.
I think in the context that this is focused on the second event,
Mm-hmm.
I think anything over 5,000, we probably want to look at. So
I agree. I think
I'm good with leaving that.
Leaves the door open. Yeah. That's great.
Okay, so the three updates: self-service towers, appeal process, hearing process, is head nods. Everyone okay with that? So update.
Okay.
Do we want to move to first reading after those updates, or do we want to have another discussion?
We've got two more shots at it, so
Okay.
bring it on.
So bring this to you for first reading with those changes.
You bring it to first reading with those
Understood?
changes?
Yes.
Councilmember Colburn?
Yes.
Okay. Next, resolution number 24 140.
A resolution of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, authorizing a 3% cost of living adjustment for all full-time city employees and providing an effective date.
Mr. Whitman, could you please explain this?
Yes, sir. Last year, just before the budget workshop, the council at the time asked us to bring the COLA first, the cost of living, the CPI, to get it out of the way before we go to the budget workshop. This is, the CPI right now is tracking about 3.1 the last time Holly checked for me. We're asking for a 3% for across the board to get it out of the way before the budget. This is something the council asked us last year, so we're bringing it back at this time for him to do it between, it was recommended we do it between June and August. That's why it's coming back at this. If you guys approve it tonight, the employees would see it on their first paycheck on July 12th. They'd see the 3% on their checks.
Okay.
And this is, I'm sorry, sir.
Yeah.
This was budgeted for, the council last year budgeted for the early cost of living, and it is in our 5-year plan for COLA throughout the next 5 years.
Okay. Any public comment on this issue? Seeing none, any discussion from the council?
No, I think it's, trying to retain very good employees is very difficult no matter what field you're in, and especially with the economy as it is now. I motion to accept.
Second.
Approve, I should say.
No, approve, yes.
I did have a,
Oh,
are we going to be doing it at this time every year?
Yeah, we'll try to bring it back every year during June and August, so we can have it in place before we actually do our budget workshop.
Okay, yeah.
And when we do this year's budget, we'll build in to next year's budget as well, so if we do it early, the money's there, so we don't have to do a budget amendment.
Yeah, I just want to make sure it doesn't slide around too much.
It'll focus up right around when we do our budget workshop. Our budget workshop this year's in August, so we want to get this in place before we sit down with our budget workshop.
Okay. Any further? We have a motion and a second on the floor. Ms. Fazzoni, please call roll.
Councilmember Coburn?
Yes.
Councilman Register?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Teddemer?
Yes, ma'am. Next is Resolution 24141.
A resolution of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, approving the purchase of one fully equipped 2024 Ford Police Responder truck for the police department from L&J Automotive Management, Inc., DBA L&J Fleet Sales, in the total amount of $75,488, agreeing to be bound by the terms and conditions of the City of Tallahassee's contract governing that purchase and authorizing a budget amendment.
Chief Talamantes, could you please come and explain this item?
Mayor, Council, just to give you a little context, back in February 24th, one of our patrol officers, while on duty, was struck and hit by a drunk driver right here on Back Beach 79. At the time he was driving sadly, a brand-new Tahoe we had just got. It was totaled. Officer is fine, still going through physical therapy. This is a replacement for that vehicle. There was an insurance claim. I believe we got around $48,000 back. Vehicle acquisition in our industry has been extremely difficult for years now, since COVID, and we're still facing that. Increases prices, increase of labor when it comes to equipment installation. But this vehicle particularly is in line with the vehicles that we have purchased last budget year, and the vendor said that they could deliver this vehicle the same time as this specific order. Getting this vehicle timely is very essential to us because our fleet is aging, and we need to get some new vehicles on the street.
Okay. Thank you, Chief.
Yes, sir.
Is there any public comment on this issue? I think I just dismissed the chief for public comment, but I did have a question. So the truck was $48,000.
No.
The total
insurance,
value.
The insurance we received from the Tahoe was $48,000. The vehicle, I believe at that time, was priced out at close to that, but there was also a little over $10,000 of emergency equipment installed. So there's a little bit of a loss there. The new vehicle is substantially more expensive than that vehicle, and that's just based on the contract in which we are piggybacking from, which is in line with the state contract. The vehicle that wrecked was, I believe, a 2020. This is a 2024 vehicle, and roughly there's a good $10,000 to $15,000 increase in the cost of the vehicle just by the just by inflation. as well as the inflation of the cost of the equipment. And just a little bit more context for the equipment installation, we identified on previous vehicles that we received is that they were missing some very vital pieces of equipment. Running boards to help us get the prisoners into the back of the vehicle. Spotlights, for some reason, these automotive industries don't put spotlights on police vehicles anymore. Anybody who worked the midnight shift knows that they are very essential, so we put spotlights on them. And this vehicle will also come fully decaled and ready to go. This is a one-stop shop compared to other vehicles we've had to piecemeal things together to try to get a vehicle out in fleet.
Okay.
Were we able to salvage some of the equipment off of the?
Some of the emergency lighting, but we have to gauge the risk on that. It is a damaged vehicle, damaged emergency equipment. Putting that on another emergency vehicle, the concern there is pretty high. So typically we do not do that.
And our insurance does not cover any of that emergency equipment?
It did. It covered a small portion of it. I don't exactly know the breakdown between that, but they were told the cost of the emergency equipment. And they came in with the offer of $48,000.
No.
Vice Mayor, I'd like to add, I've had a little experience with this. With the emergency equipment, the insurance company's got to give us a right to salvage some of that. Sometimes they allow us to take some of the equipment off. Sometimes they say no because they sell it off. So it's a hit and miss with that to answer that question.
And this vehicle was severely damaged. It was a pretty bad wreck.
But our officer's okay.
He's doing fine. I don't think you could hurt that guy. You tried.
Okay, no further discussion?
No, sir.
Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, Ms. Fazzoni, please call roll.
Councilmember Coburn?
Yes.
Councilman Register?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Teddemer?
Yes, ma'am. Next up is Resolution 24142. Mr. Davis.
A resolution of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, scheduling special meetings for consideration of its regular business at 5 p.m. on July 11th and August 8th, 2024, and providing an immediately effective date.
Mr. Whitman, could you please explain this?
Yes, sir. A few years back, the city council moved their start time for Thursday nights during the summer, June, July, and August, so people could attend the summer concert series, which starts in 8 minutes. The last couple of years, we missed it because of COVID, and we changed the dates last year. We actually did the concerts on a Tuesday. So I just was recommending if you guys would like to change the dates for your July meeting and August meeting to an earlier time start, it would be a special meeting that they would set, but that way you guys can do the meeting. It'd still be a business meeting, but you can still go out and enjoy the concerts, and our guests can make it out there as well.
Okay.
I'm happy about this. I like the concerts. I think we all do.
I agree. I was there last week and enjoyed it with my family, very much so. And I just want to make sure it's okay with the public and that they're going to be able to get here at 5 o'clock, and that's good with them. And but I enjoyed it with my family. I saw a lot of people, and thank you for moving it to Thursdays. I don't know what it is about Thursdays, but people like Thursdays a lot better than Tuesdays, I've heard. So maybe it's just that much closer to the weekend. So got a lot of good positive feedback about Thursday nights, and the music quality out there is incredible. It's really good. So.
Motion to approve.
Well, let's make sure we don't have any public comment on this item.
Oh, okay. Well, they seem to be shaking their head.
Public head shakings. Okay. Seeing no public comment on pushing these couple Thursday meetings back an hour so that people can get to the concert.
Yeah, I say we can all head over there together after the meeting. So.
All right.
You have a motion?
We have a motion?
Motion
Second.
to approve.
Yep. Ms. Fazzoni, please call roll.
Councilmember Coburn?
Yes.
Councilman Register?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Teddemer?
Yes, ma'am. Next up, Resolution 24143. Mr. Davis.
A resolution of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, approving a lease agreement with the Bay County Board of County Commissioners for property located at 225 North Gulf Boulevard.
Chief Talamantes, could you please come and explain this item? Getting your steps in today.
I need them after this week.
It's all good, though.
Yes, this is a lease agreement for our canine facility. We're extremely excited about it. If the public doesn't know, we have 8 canines in our police department. All of them are valuable members of the team. This is going to help us to provide them with a safe living facility as well as a place to train for our handlers, and we're excited.
Okay. We'll do public comment and then comments from the council. Any public comment on this item?
Charles Nelson, 221 Summer Breeze Road, Panama City Beach. I was at the county building, the county meeting, and I think they approved their end of this lease. I'm under the impression that other departments are using this and therefore renting it and the facility, so we have some sort of a revenue stream coming back. Is that correct?
I'll let the city manager ask that.
Mr. City Manager, would you?
It's going to be a regional training facility. Our 8 canines will be stationed there permanently. The other one will be for hurricanes or if we're doing a training session, but there won't be any rental fees for the other agencies that are training with us. Now, if we do an actual training class where we'll hire a company, they will charge for that. But as far as in-house training or during the hurricanes or training with our other agencies, there will be no cost for that. We're not going to rent out those 4 things. There'll be spares or backups.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Whitman.
Yes, sir.
Further public comment? Any comments from the council?
I would just like to thank the county commission for this. This is a huge thing for us here in the city. As many know, we have the largest canine force, I think, in the panhandle of Florida. And as Mr. Nelson brought up, this facility will also be used to help nearby agencies have training seminars or whatever they might need. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I would also like to thank the county commission for allowing us to use this land in a way that will serve the entire community. This is a great example of collaboration amongst your local governments. I don't know if anyone looked at the lease terms, but they are extremely favorable at $100 a year. It's a great deal and allows us to provide this facility. So thank you, Bay County Commission, for really helping us out here. Further comments from the council?
I just would say that when we went to Sacramento seeking this grant from the legislature, that was one of the selling points for them, was the fact that we were going to let our mutual aid partners use the facility and we would be able to do regional training. So I think it's going to be a huge benefit to the whole community.
All right. No further comment? No. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Fazzoni, please call roll.
Councilmember Coburn?
Yes.
Councilman Register?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Teddemer?
Yes, ma'am. And again, thank you. We have a visitor in the audience from the County Commission, so thank you, Commissioner Peace. Okay. Next up is Resolution 24144. Mr. Davis.
A resolution of the City of Panama City Beach, Florida, authorizing a budget amendment to appropriate additional funds for 1 full-time fire inspector and 1 full-time fire inspections administrative support specialist and continued seasonal administrative support for the fire department.
Chief Morgan, would you please come help us understand this resolution?
Good evening, Mayor, Council. So a little backstory on this. As you guys know, our fire inspection division is woefully loaded up with a lot of tasks of inspections, bonfires, permits, new buildings, annual inspections, and now we have short-term rental inspections as well. To date, we're at a little over 7,800 of those registrations. We expect that to go to 10,000. I currently have 3 full-time fire inspectors and 1 full-time administrative assistant. So to be able to accommodate making all these inspections, all these registrations, processing all these applications, we've had to take on putting on off-duty firemen at overtime rates, as well as putting on seasonal staff, just to try to contain the amount of work that this has come into our lives. So to be efficient, to be responsive to the public, and to keep this moving forward and keep us safe. I'm asking for additional full-time at this moment and another full-time administrative assistant.
Okay. Please, let's let the public comment on this. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Any public comment on this additional fire inspector? Okay. Any comments from the council? I had a comment on this one. Chief, why do you recommend keeping this in-house? Mr. Hunter asked about how do we make the decision to contract out versus keep in-house?
Yeah, so for us, it's about our footprint here in the city. One is efficiency. Our team is, great at what they do, and they've done a great job. They know our city in and out. They know this business in and out, and they work really well with our business community. So one is the efficiency of that. Two is the quality of work. We put our team out there that represent us. They represent our brand, represent the city, and they know what we're looking for. They know how to keep the community safe. They know how to keep the community prosperous. And they know what to look at from a fireman standpoint. All of our inspectors are certified firemen, and they're also EMTs and or paramedics. So when they're in the field, they're not just doing inspections. They're available to run med calls. And then if we have a large event, they are filling critical roles for us as safety officers, logistics handlers. So it goes much further beyond that. And then fiscally responsibility is a big part of this, and this is a budget neutral ask.
Just have one question, Mayor.
Yeah.
These inspections are annual inspections?
That's correct. That's a reoccurring, ongoing.
Right. And the application fee is to be paid annually?
That's correct.
Okay.
And we are collecting some revenue to help offset our expense.
Yes, ma'am. Like I said, this is budget neutral. Yep.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, but also, as I looked at this, these would be state certified fire inspectors. So if we needed them to, they could also go and do fire planning, the annual fire assessments in all businesses on the beach.
Correct.
Something that might, well, I agree, if we can
and annuals
shop it
is
out
something
cheaper
we're-
somewhere, then
we're-
I'm
we're
all
lacking.
game.
We need somebody, this will allow us to put somebody dedicated just to doing annual inspections, so.
Gotcha. All right.
Any further discussion from council?
No.
Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve?
Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Fazzoni? Oh, thank you, Chief. Ms. Fazzoni, please call roll.
Councilmember Coburn?
Yes.
Councilman Register?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Teddemer?
Yes, ma'am. Next up is the discussion action item for board appointments. We have several. On the sheet, we have audit, civil service, examining, half cent, and airport authority. Suggest we take it in that order. For the audit committee, we had staff recommendation to renominate Mr. Van Dyke, to renominate Mr. Netzel, and to nominate Mr. Moyes. I don't know how to say it. Chip? Say his last name?
Works for us.
Yes.
Yep.
Please.
Is there any public?
Oh, it's a ministerial act, so generally you don't have to take public comment
Okay.
on board appointments.
Okay. Is there any discussion for these on the audit board?
I'm excited people want to continue on the audit committee, so,
Yeah, I interviewed Chip. As someone on the audit committee, I'm looking forward to working with him. He had very good experience. What's that?
I was going to let you finish. I was just going to remind you that if we can advertise one more position, I'm still missing one position on the audit committee. This would give you a total of 4, and I need a 5th member. I just need direction at the end if you guys want me to advertise again, or if you guys can find someone on your own.
Is that something we can pick one of us, like, to make an appointment? If the mayor serves on that committee, could he make an appointment or a recommendation, or does it have to, like, how would we decide that?
You guys would have to decide on the dais. I mean, we've tried advertising, you saw how that worked, but if one of you knows someone that might be interested, you could bring it up as a nomination, and then he could vote on it. You guys could vote on it from the dais.
So
We're just looking for someone that want to serve.
Sure. I mean, his finger's definitely on the pulse, so he would know what he needs on that committee, so.
Yeah, I think it's worth it for us to advertise it, and we can also ask staff if they know anyone who may be helpful in their day-to-day. Maybe reach out to their networks. Appreciate it. All right, so we have 3. Do you want to do them as a slate?
We need a motion?
Yes, and a motion to approve the 3?
Yeah.
A motion, I'll make a motion to approve all 3.
I'll second that.
Okay. Ms. Fasone, please call roll.
Councilmember Coburn?
Yes.
Councilman Register?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mayor Teddemer?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for.
Mayor?
Yep.
I think it's important to note that the people that serve on this committee need to have the financial background.
Yes.
So it's not like,
It's not just a member of the public. There are.
right, just because I can budget my household budget does not mean that I belong on the audit committee.
Yeah. Point well taken, Councilmember. Okay. Next is the Civil Service Board. We had several applicants. Let me see. Pull it down.
I would like to make a motion when you're ready.
And just for clarification, this is to fill an unexpired term that will expire in October, so you'll have to do this again in October for this seat, just to be clear.
Okay.
Okay.
So we had 3 applicants, Mr. Purvis, Mr. Freeman, and Ms. Chanel. Okay.
I'd
Councilmember?
like to make a motion for Angie Chanel to serve on the Civil Service Commission. I think she's well qualified with lots of experience.
Okay. Any discussion? I will say I also reviewed Ms. Chanel's, I reviewed all of the resumes, and Ms. Chanel's, yours really stood out. Your history in talent acquisition, I think, will be particularly helpful here. Do we have a second?
Second.
Ms. Fasone?
Councilmember Coburn?
Yes.
Councilman Register?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mayor Teddemer?
Yes, ma'am. Next up is the examining board. We had 1 applicant, Mr. Stephen Gregory, for the civilian position on the examining board. We still have open positions, I believe, for the electrician and gas fitter.
Yes, sir.
So I think before we start off with Mr. Gregory, we should, again, we previously directed, if I recall, for staff to try and figure out what we need for this board. These positions have been vacant for quite some time.
Yes, and we are currently working on that. We'll bring you back an ordinance in the near future to amend those qualifications based on the direction you gave us earlier.
Yeah.
Okay. I will say I talked to Mr. Gregory as someone who spent a decent amount of time using data centers. It was enjoyable to talk to him. Sounds like he has a great, very technical background. I think it would be great for the civilian part of this board, the civilian spot.
It's tough to find people for this.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree, and I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Fasone, please call roll.
Councilmember Coburn?
Yes.
Councilman Register?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mayor Teddemer?
Yes, ma'am. Next up is the half-cent sales tax. This is appointments per council. Councilman Register, you have an appointment.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jarman has an appointment, and I have an appointment. Vice Mayor, would you?
Sure. I'd like to appoint Kenny Ainsworth to the half cent.
Okay. And I suggest we do this as a slate.
Okay, yeah,
Oh, okay.
absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
of course. It's great. Thank you.
Councilman Register?
Jonah Bonner would
you
be
say it
my
one more time for
appointment.
me,
Can you
please?
say-
Jonah Bonner, Jonah, and then Bonner, Bonner. He's at 405 Liverpool.
Thank you.
And I'm pleased to nominate Charlie Nelson. He's eminently qualified as a CPA, so I think he'll be a good fit for this. I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Vizzoni, please call roll.
Councilmember Coburn?
Yes,
Councilman Register?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mayor Teddemer?
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Next is the Northwest Florida Beaches Airport Authority. We had a few applicants for this. Mr. Helmner, who had decided to
He's withdrawn.
withdraw.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Clubbs, Mr. Reed, Mr. Pesley, and Mr. Morehouse, and also the existing seat, Mr. Sheldon, former Mayor Sheldon, asked to be renominated. Is there any discussion or?
Well, I mean, I'll say that, I've heard the airport board referred to as a boring board, but I will say that over the last 4 years, it's not been that way for me, or I have not seen it be boring. They've done an incredible amount of growth out there at the airport. They've expanded the parking, they've added a new airport gate, a new carrier service, a second FBO. Shelter has expanded. They've been able to renegotiate their interest rate, and they've been able to lower their debt service. And they are currently under the largest expansion that the airport has seen. In addition to this, they're also in the works with Florida State University to have a center, a technology center. So these past 4 years have been a huge growth time period for the airport. The board itself elects the chairman. They elected Mark Sheldon to be the chairman if he is reappointed. I think it's important that the Panama City Beach has that position as chairman, and my vote is to, or my nomination is to retain Mark Sheldon.
I will say, I was a little disappointed in Mr. Sheldon because we advertised this on the 9th. It ended on the 23rd, and he did not indicate he was interested in staying until 2 weeks later after the close on the 5th. I interviewed all the candidates, and I really appreciate everyone for reaching out. I really, of them, I think the standout, there are two really close. Mr. Morehouse and Mr. Pesley were both very, very close. My preference is Mr. Morehouse because of his extensive financial experience. Last time this board came up for nomination, we had a slate of nominees, and then the council decided to pick an elected representative instead of the nominee. So I think it makes sense, since given that reasoning, that we try someone new here. I think Mr. Morehouse has a very wide experience with his history at Cadence Bank and Community Bank. He really understands the area well. So I was very, very impressed at our conversation. Any further?
Jason Morehouse is an incredible individual. I sat right next to him on the planning board. No questions asked. That Jason Morehouse was first class all the way. Tremendous individual. Ron Pesley had a great conversation, probably one of the most enjoyable conversations I've had in a long time. So I really enjoyed that conversation. Talked to Mr. Clubbs as well, another enjoyable conversation. But I find that when I took this seat to do the best thing for Panama City Beach, and it's my understanding that anybody, if we elect here, goes to the back of the line and is not in line to be the chair next. And the vice chair was picked amongst his peers on that board, as it is right now. So I'd have a hard time being convinced that Mark Sheldon's not the best option for Panama City Beach moving forward. I'd really be hard-pressed to think that a mayor of 4 years in this community doesn't have his finger on the pulse of economic development. May not agree with all the things he's done. I don't. Maybe I do. I don't know. But here we are. He's got his finger on the pulse. He knows what's going on in the community, and he understands economic development, and he's been on that board before. So that's where I'm at, and I'm incredibly thankful for Jason Morehouse. He would definitely be my number 2. No questions asked.
Okay.
Shall we vote?
Sir, can I remind you, got a motion on the table
Okay.
from the
Yep.
dais?
There's a motion.
There's a
Motion for,
Do we need a second, please?
did you make a motion?
Or we,
Yeah,
well,
you
I
made a-
made a nomination.
You made yeah, there was not a
Is
motion.
that the same?
There's
There's not a-
Yeah, there wasn't a
there's
motion.
not a
Yeah.
table.
Yeah, we don't need I don't think we need a motion. We vote and we agree.
Yeah.
But Mary said we have 2
I
nominations.
thought we were nominating Mr. Morehouse as well.
Oh, yeah, well, then I guess we're voting.
You do need a motion.
Yeah, we need a motion to
Okay.
vote for,
Whomever we want.
yeah, whomever we want.
So we just need a motion to vote.
Motion to vote.
Okay.
No, hold on. If you're, are you going to vote by paper ballot or are you going to voice vote?
I think some of us have voice voted.
Yeah.
Voice vote is fine.
Yeah, voice vote is fine.
Well, you need.
So we're looking to you, Cole.
So, I mean, generally speaking, you would make a motion to appoint a person and then vote on that up or down.
Okay.
Okay. Motion to reappoint Mark Sheldon.
Second.
Ms. Fazzoni, please call roll.
Councilmember Coburn,
No.
Councilman Register,
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Jarman,
Yes.
and Mayor Teddemer.
No.
So now what?
As a tie, it's a no vote.
It's a no vote.
Okay. Can we table this until the 5th member gets back?
Well, I mean, you
we-
have a nomination.
Yeah, I mean, we have a nomination.
So we'll vote on the next nomination as well? Oh, okay,
Correct.
great.
So we need a motion.
You need a motion again.
Motion to appoint Mr. Morehouse.
Second, we'll vote.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Ms. Fazzoni?
Councilmember Coburn,
Yes.
Councilman Register,
No.
Vice Mayor Jarman,
No.
Mayor Teddemer.
Yes. Okay, well,
Pick it up next month, or next meeting?
I will say, when we've done this before, the previous applicant had indicated that he wanted to be reappointed in time. And I am concerned, in terms of just a strict process issue, that we close this, and then almost 2 weeks later, about 13 days later, we had Mr. Sheldon send an email indicating he wanted to be renominated. So if we want to push this, my concern would be, it looks like we're giving him preferential treatment because he didn't get it in with everyone else. So my suggestion would be, let's just open it up for a week. Everyone who's already applied, including Mr. Sheldon, would be in under that time frame, and we open it up for one more week. And then
The entire application process?
Yeah.
Okay.
we open it up for one more week. Then that takes care of the process issue. And, everyone, I think also Mr. Reed kind of got in a little late too. So, yeah, so we want to follow a process, and we want it to be fair for everyone. So let's just open up for another week, and then we can take it at next meeting.
I publicly owe Mr. Reed an apology. I called all the other applicants except for him, and because of that same situation, so I would appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak with him as well. One thing I do have a little bit of an issue with is we just appointed, from my standpoint, we just appointed people on audit committee that didn't necessarily reapply? Did they fill out reapplications, or did they just ask to be reappointed?
If you're asking me, in my practice, we have not required sitting members to reapply.
Okay.
And I mean, and I will.
So that's what I just want to get clear, is that we don't do it for the other boards. Why this board? I understand the getting it in behind, and so I just want to make sure we're fair across the board here. And on these other committees, we literally just did exactly what we're saying we're not going to do.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, so, yeah, I think that's a wonderful point, Councilman Register. From my perspective, for these other boards, they were not contended reappointments.
Sure.
And secondly, there is unfortunately a little bit of history with this board. Previously, they did ask the previous nominee to reapply.
Okay.
And that's when there was some, their applications went out, and then folks said, the council at the time, I believe you were on the council at the time, decided, okay, we're not going to do any of these applicants. We're going to pick an elected official. So I think particularly because this board, we've kind of done it this way, I think it's worth doing it this way, and especially because it's a contended nomination for this board. For these other ones, they were, we didn't have, honestly, we just didn't have anyone.
Extremely valid point. Yeah, absolutely. We want to talk about history of the beach, though. History kind of has repeated itself in this situation in the past. So I want to say, Drew, you've been here longer than I have. Ken Nelson, after he lost the mayor's race, same scenario that we're dealing with now, correct? Do you guys recall? Does anybody recall? I've done my research on this.
If I recall right, when Nelson won the race, he was a second runner-up, and they appointed him to the airport board. If I'm correct, I believe that's how it was played out in 2020.
In 2016.
Yeah. So agreed, history. We're doing the same thing, and very valid points, extremely valid. I'd like to know the timing of the next airport board meeting, of us kicking this down the road some. I think it's the 26th.
Yes.
Our meeting's 27th.
Our meeting's the 27th. What implications apply of us not?
Well, Mr. Sheldon's term expires on June 30th, so technically you can wait one more. You can do this at the next meeting.
We can do this at the next meeting. Okay.
Yes. And then the airport would meet again on the 4th Wednesday of July. So.
And I'd really love to put this to bed tonight, but if that's what I'm happy to go your direction.
Well, yeah, I think it's worth to adjust the process issue, and also I agree. I think the recollection is accurate. Ken Nelson did win nomination afterwards, and there's been it's a political board. There's been back and forth. Sometimes applications have been considered, sometimes they haven't. Sometimes the person's been reappointed, sometimes hasn't.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Absolutely.
I don't know, but I don't think we're going to get anywhere tonight, so it doesn't hurt.
I'm just not one to kick things down the road, man. I like to get things.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, were there? I mean, you had said
I guess
that
the question: anybody up here willing to change their mind?
Well, let's just continue to move.
I mean, I honestly, I think it's great to have someone who has a great financial perspective. I understand your points. The previous thought was the former mayor wasn't elected. We needed an elected on there. That's no longer the case. And now it's okay, but he was on there, so he should stay on there. I think it's time. I think it's time for a fresh face on there.
I will say, I think Mr. Sheldon does have a accounting degree.
Oh,
so
yes, he does, and it's neither here nor there. One thing we can't talk about this outside of here because of sunshine law, but
sure.
I'm just trying to understand. Like, this is the beach's appointment, is my understanding. We have a beach appointee in line to be the chair to drive economic development for Panama City Beach. I am an elected official for Panama City Beach.
He's
if we,
not elected.
I
No,
am
he is.
Oh, I'm
an
sorry.
elected official.
I'm
So
sorry for
in my-
interrupting,
In my,
actually.
in my heart, I want to do what I feel like is right for Panama City Beach is to get us a chairman that is our appointee. And I think that, you know, and I'd love to have the chairman be our beach appointee.
Yeah, I guess it's the person and the position.
Sure.
And I think we just had the beach have an election. And when previously the thinking for having elected on there was they were accountable to the community and elected to lead, which is what was the phrase when we put Mr. Sheldon on there. In that case, the beach did not choose him, and quite frankly, by a fairly substantial margin.
Yes, sir.
And so, you know, saying that just because he's going to be chairman, we should pick him when we just had,
I think that's.
I would say, a fairly sizable vote of no confidence, then it is worth putting a new face on there.
Okay, yes, sir. Valid point, and I just think also the same, on that actual board, they did choose him. I think the vice chair, again, is elected by his fellow members, correct?
That's correct.
So, okay, got it, yes, sir. I'm happy to open it one more week, and I think it's a great move.
Pick it up in 2 weeks.
I think, yeah, pick it up in 2 weeks.
Okay, I mean, if no one's going to change their mind. Okay, so let's get a motion to,
Motion to extend the application process for 1 week and set the schedule to make a vote on the June 27th meeting.
Can I get some clarification on that motion? Can I get a time on that also? Do you do Thursday, June 20th at 4 o'clock at the end of business day?
Works for me.
That'd be 1 week from the day. That way it's a packet week and Ms. Lynn can get everything and get it in the packet and the applications out to you on Friday.
okay.
Okay.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Ms. Fizzoni, please call roll.
Councilmember Coburn?
Yes.
Councilman Register?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor German?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Tedman?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, next up is the city manager report.
Before I go into my report, I think Mr. Nelson's in here. You said he's a CPA, your point? I'd encourage him to apply for the audit committee as well, if he's got time for that. That would be definitely part of it. Because he can do both. He can do the half cent and the audit if he's interested in it.
That'd be excellent.
Okay. He can serve both of those boards. So I heard you.
Mr. Nelson, how much free time do you have?
You have just been.
Well, it caught our attention when you said.
Let's let him. Well, Mr. Nelson, why don't you think about it?
I'm just encouraging. Yeah.
I think I'd like to speak to Mr. Whitman about the responsibilities.
Yeah, Mr.
You caught my attention when you said CPA, and she.
Oh yeah,
This white perked up also.
Someone's ears perked up. You know, I'm glad our city manager is on it.
Her CPA or something.
Assistant city manager. Thank you, Ms. White. Okay, we got an exciting city manager report already.
All I want to say real quick is thank you for recognizing Mr. Jackson. He was a friend of mine. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be where I'm at, along with Mayor Griffiths. He hired me back in the 80s to be a police officer, appointed me to the chief of police in 2012, and when I took this job, he took me aside and asked me what I was thinking, and then he gave me words of encouragement. So a lot of respect to him and his family. He's going to be missed. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Whitman. Mr. Davis.
Yes, members of the council. At the last meeting, you directed me to draft a letter regarding service fees being charged at restaurants on the beach. That was a long meeting, and I think the direction was a little bit unclear regarding who you wanted to receive that letter. And so I've talked to you individually, but I wanted your direction as to whether that letter, the letter is drafted, Lynn has it, and I wanted to know whether it needs to go to all restaurants or just restaurants that you have received reports of service fees being charged. So it's just a matter of scope. The letter's ready either way. I just needed your direction on that, if you don't mind.
Vice Mayor?
I personally think we should send it to everybody.
I agree. I think it needs to go to all restaurants, or are you
Yeah.
saying all businesses? Because there are other businesses out there that are starting to tack on these.
Are they?
now.
Okay. Well, it might need to be a blanket notice.
But maybe they'll just, maybe if we
Maybe they'll learn
start
from
with the
restaurants.
restaurants, maybe they'll get.
I would, there is a specific statute just on restaurants, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you don't
Stay
mind, we'll
within the
start at
line.
restaurants,
Okay.
at all the restaurants at least.
Yes.
Okay.
We want, and the main thing is we want it to be clearly identified
Correct.
to the public prior to them making a decision to order food there.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have, is that,
As long as everyone agrees, then.
I'm just making sure the direction that we're going to agree to is
So
clear.
The letter will go to all restaurants in the city limits,
Yes.
at least that we can readily identify.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, they should have a business license. One would hope.
We would hope.
And we're also going to be posting it on the website.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I'm good. Oh, and I'm sorry. I did want to give my condolences to the Jackson family. And, I didn't get to work for Mr. Jackson. He was already retired by the time I started working for the city. But I did get to know him fairly well, and he was an incredibly kind man, and he contributed his entire life to this place. And that means a lot to me personally. So I just want to say that.
Thank you.
Okay, I actually don't have the order for council member comments, so we'll just go to,
Yeah, just my condolences to the Jackson family. My family's known Mr. Jackson and his family for quite some time. For those that don't know, he was working for the city before he became city manager. So his entire, the amount of effort and what he accomplished here is staggering. And you certainly don't hear of city managers lasting 30 years.
No.
So that is a true testament to that man's ability. So it's a great loss for this city.
we'll do Councilman Register.
Yeah, same. Just offer my condolences. Richard Jackson was a neighbor of ours. See him walking all the time on the golf course or up and down Fairway Boulevard. So just incredible family, good people. He's been serving our community longer than I've been alive. So pretty impressive and really happy to have our Jackson be one of the most beautiful thoroughfares in our community that's named after him. I think that is a beautiful testament to all the work that he's done in our community.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Condolences to the family, and thanks to the city. They've been out there repairing some sidewalks on our Jackson, making it even safer for people to walk, because there was a lot of lifts there. And I did get some time to talk to him, and I believe it was a Mr. Sales about some tall tales.
We don't talk about
some of their
How much time
antics
did you
back
spend?
in the day. It was quite entertaining, so he will be missed.
All right. I also want to extend condolences. I only met him literally once, actually during the election. I was just like, "Oh, hey, you have a road named after you? That's pretty cool." No, it was a brief discussion. I knew who he was, but my impression, especially from talking to the folks here, is he was a real public servant, and the phrase I kept hearing was he could get things done. And that is, especially in government, it's a impressive quality. And so we're sorry to have lost him. Really feel deeply with his wife. I have a few things. Thank you for helping us move forward, the rest of the council, for the event ordinance. I think we had a robust discussion there, and it was particularly helpful. I'd also love to announce that the city has a YouTube channel, City of Panama City Beach, or youtube.com/@, City of PCB. This is an extremely convenient way. Maybe you're watching us on YouTube right now. This is a extremely convenient way to watch us both live and later on. You don't need an account, which is very nice. Some of our other social media like Facebook, you need an account. You don't need an account. It works on basically every device. If YouTube doesn't work on your device, is it really a device? I don't know. We're testing it live. We're testing it. It is live. Thank you, Bernie. You mind turning that off, though, or I'm going to call you out of order. No, seriously, turn it off.
Oh, boy.
But you can never find the off button when you want
No.
it.
Okay. Also, it is closed captioned, which is great. Our IT department has been working on closed captioning extremely hard to improve our accessibility here. We really appreciate them. And I know Mr. Whitman has been helping to direct that as well, so thank you, Mr. Whitman. And if we don't talk fast enough, you can adjust the playback speed. So please go subscribe, and so you can be informed. It's convenient and accessible. Just a few more here. As I was browsing our city code, I noticed in section 531, we have some language requiring licensing of dogs and cats. We don't actually enforce that. We don't use that. So we should get rid of that dead language and remove those unnecessary rules. So I'd like the city attorney to take a look at that for upcoming council meeting. I also noticed, you find all sorts of stuff if you go through our code. I also noticed in 5.3, the chicken ordinance is a little burdensome. It requires you getting permission every year from every neighbor. Maybe we could lighten that up and just say, when you get new neighbors.
You got people with chickens?
I do not know anyone with chickens, although I will say I am a tremendous egg fan. And do I need to recuse myself if I say?
It depends on how many eggs you eat.
Oh, I actually, a decent number of eggs, and they have gotten expensive.
Yeah.
And they have gotten expensive. But if we are going to do that every year thing is a good check. I didn't see any ban on roosters in there. So if we're going to remove the every year, let's maybe adjust it, ban on roosters. That's it for barnyard and pet updates.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was just going to say, if the ordinances that the mayor stipulated, can we all get those, please?
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. City Attorney, if you could just take a look, and maybe we'll have a discussion in an upcoming council meeting. Thank you, everyone. The next city council meeting is Thursday, June 27th at 9 a.m. We thank God for the privilege to serve you. May God bless you. May God bless Panama City Beach. Meeting's adjourned.